What if there were errors in your Bible? What if intentional changes were made? Would you want to know the truth? Would you want the Bible to be corrected from corruption? Many of these corruptions of Scripture are in Genesis. Let's talk about the genealogy of Genesis. Specifically, let's look at Genesis 10:24. Genesis 10:24, and Arphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Heber. Now, let's take a look, juxtaposed to the older Septuagint version of Genesis 10:24. Genesis 10:24, Septuagint, and Arphaxad begat Canaan, and Canaan begat Salah, and Salah begat Heber. There used to be an extra generation in Genesis 10:24. The generation of Canaan, also known as the controversial second Canaan of Genesis. Even though he is missing in most Bibles with the New Testament, he does appear once in the genealogy of Luke, in the New Testament. Luke 3:36, the son of Canaan, the son of Arphaxad, the son of Shem, the son of Noah, the son of Lamech. I trust the genealogy of Luke for one main reason. Luke lists 77 generations from Adam to Jesus. This is the same number of generations that the Book of Enoch said would be. From Adam to the Son of Man. I also trust that there should be 24 generations in Genesis, from Adam to Joseph. Clearly the Genesis story canonized Adam, Noah, Abraham, Jacob, and last is the story of Joseph, the last to clearly receive a birthright from his father. Without the second Canaan, in Genesis 10:24, there is only 23 generations from Adam to Joseph. I believe there must be 24 generations of birthright, handed down from Adam to Joseph. Why am I sure? Because it clearly says in the last book of the Bible, Revelation, that there are 24 elders. Revelation 4:4, and round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats, I saw 24 elders sitting. Who are the oldest people in the Bible? The 24 generations of Genesis from Adam to Joseph. The 24 elders. When second Canaan is placed back into the genealogy of Genesis, he is the 13th generation. The 13th letter of any Semitic language is also the numeric denomination of 40. The first 10 letters are 1 through 10, then the 11th is 20, the 12th is 30, and the 13th is 40. The original 13th letter of the pictograph alphabet was removed. This was originally a pictograph of a hammer. The sound of the letter was da, 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 like the sound of a hammer striking iron upon an anvil. Was the letter removed at the same time as second Canaan was removed? I believe they were removed at the same time. The reason? The name Canaan means the smith, as in blacksmith, or iron forger. This trade matches the original pictograph of the missing letter. The hammer pictograph, and it matches the sound of the missing letter. Da, da, da. I don't think that this is a coincidence. This looks related, and intentional. The Hebrew alphabet only has 22 letters. And only 22 denominations 1 through 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300 and 400. The alphabet is missing 2 letters, for the denominations 500 and 1000. It makes no sense for the original alphabet to end with the denomination of 400. Who would do that? If you place the missing hammer pictograph letter back as the 13th letter, it then has its original place as the denomination of 40. This shifts the letter mem to the denomination of 50, and every letter after shifts down. This makes the last Hebrew letter Taf, now the denomination of 500. With 23 letters, the denominations are completed to 500. This makes much more sense, especially with the hammer as 40. Considering how the number 40 is used through the Bible. The earth was smitten with 40 days of rain with a flood, and all life was judged. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, because they were smitten, and judged unworthy. Jesus wandered into the wilderness for 40 days and fasted. God was making him, and humbling him for divinity. When Rachel's handmaid had her first child Dan, with Jacob, she declared, God had given her a judgment for a son. The child's name being Dan, as Dan, which means judgment or judge. It seems clear that the number 40 is used to mean judgment or to be smitten. This makes better sense with the hammer pictograph as the denomination of 40. The Hebrew letter mem was originally a pictograph of waves of water. This makes better sense as the denomination of 50, 50 being a jubilee of years associated with the passing waves of time. There is also a 24th letter, that was removed from the Hebrew alphabet. But it is not really a missing letter. It can be found in older versions of Paleo-Hebrew. This 24th letter is the letter Gain, or Ga. It has always had the denomination of 1000. With all 24 letters, the denominations are completed to 1000. Adding 500 and 1000. When the letter Da was removed, the sound of the letter was combined with the fourth letter, Day. This then turned the fourth Hebrew letter from Day, which means sky, and is where we get the English word day, from, into. The new Hebrew letter, Dale. Then, when the letter Gain was removed, it was combined with the third Hebrew letter Gem, this letter originally having the J sound, instead of the Ga sound. This then formed the new Hebrew letter Gamel, as the third letter. Having only the Ga sound, the J sound was dropped. This is how Hebrew lost its hammer pictograph, and how it lost its J sound and letter. The 24th pictograph letter, Gain, was originally a pictograph of two ropes intertwined together. This letter means to intertwine two together, to make them a stronger, one. To make rope from twine. I believe these changes were made to hide the full genealogy of Canaan, the 13th generation. Also, to hide and change words associated with the Da sound, and with the J sound. This also hiding a part of God's true nature, his judgment and discipline nature as a true father. The original pictograph of the third letter Gem, was a pictograph of a foot. The original meaning of this pictograph letter was, three that gather, walk together. The name Jesus insinuates three Zeus or Zeus, that gather to walk together. The original Gem pictograph letter was the original symbol for a trinity that walks together. This is the original letter used to spell the name Jebus and the Jebusites, in the Genesis story. The Jebusites being the first to settle in Jerusalem after the flood story in Genesis. Now let's talk about the genealogy of Canaan, aside from his known son Salah, or Shelah. First, let's look at the genealogy in the book, The Cave of Treasures. This book is based on the doctrine of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Church claims that their doctrine is the original that came directly from Solomon. Here is a portion of the genealogy of Canaan, from their doctrine book. This paragraph concerns the body of Adam, which was taken from the cave and placed upon the ark by Noah and his sons before the flood. As you see, in this one paragraph, it says Malach, the son of Canaan and brother of Salah or Shelah. It then also says, Malach is the father of Melchizedek and his mother is Yozadak. It then becomes clear why the genealogy of Canaan was removed from the Genesis story. Now, let's take a look at Hebrews 7:2, and then Hebrews 7:3, about Melchizedek. This is referencing Abraham giving a tenth of his spoils of war to Melchizedek, in the Genesis story. This is referencing that Melchizedek has no father or mother, and is without genealogy or origin. I find the contradictions of these two doctrines to be highly suspicious. I do not believe for 1 minute that Melchizedek did not have any genealogy. I don't think that is possible. Even Jesus has genealogy. I think it is suspicious to make a point to say that Melchizedek has no genealogy. I think this is an intentional cover-up of both of the parents of Melchizedek. Now let's talk about the parents of Melchizedek, Malach and Yozadak. The name Malach is where we get the Semitic word for king. Also, the word Malachim. The Semitic word Malachim is interpreted in English as meaning the word angel. Malach himself is king of the Malachim, or king of the angels or angelish. He is called the angel of the Lord in Genesis, which was referred to as Malach Yahweh, in original Semitic. Malach was born to be the ambassador of God upon the earth, because he is the 7th from Enoch, 14th from Adam. Abraham was the 21st from Adam, and the 7th from Malach bin Canaan. It is Malach who comes to Abraham with 2 Malachim, to give prophecy for his future son Isaac. This just before Malach and his 2 Malachim go to pass judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah. The 2 Malachim go to Sodom, as scripture says. Malach goes to Gomorrah. This is not in the Genesis scripture. This is why his son Melchizedek is made priest of the Most High God. Melchizedek is also made to be the helpmate of God. I also believe that Melchizedek is the Holy Spirit. And that Malach and Melchizedek, and Jesus, make the Trinity upon the earth. His mother, Yozadak, is where the name Zadok, or Zadok, comes from. Melchizedek being the first priest of the Zadok priesthood of God. There is one more thing about Melchizedek that may shock you. There is evidence that Melchizedek may have been a hermaphrodite. This because the word Melchi means queen. The word Malach means king, and also because I believe his parents, Malach and Yozadak, are the same as Hermes and Aphrodite. Let's talk about other changes that were made to the Genesis genealogy and timeline. Specifically, the ages at which each generation of birthright begat the next generation. Let's take a look at the King James Biblical Genealogy timeline of Genesis. Here we see the begat age, the years lived, and the birth and death years from Adam. Now let's take a look juxtaposed to the older version from the writings of Josephus, the chronicler. Josephus lived around the time of Christ and was an ancient history recorder. His writings are available in a modern book now. When they are juxtaposed, you can see that 600 years has been removed from the year length of the timeline. The begat year of age has been reduced by 100 years on each of 6 of the birthright generations of Genesis. The older Septuagint version of Genesis also matches the writings of Josephus on this timeline. Now we can also add in the BC year date on each, if we have the beginning year. I believe the beginning year of Adam's creation or birth is hidden in the name of God, the Tetragrammaton of Yahweh. I believe the year date is plainly hidden in the numbers of the Tetragrammaton name. Let me show you what I mean. Here is a picture of the Tetragrammaton name in Paleo-Semitic. The Tetragrammaton is read from right to left, but the numeric values are normally read from left to right. Here is a key of the first 10 letters of the pictograph alphabet as a reference. These are the Paleo-Semitic pictographs and their values, 1 through 10. There are 2 year dates that are easily seen in the numbers of the Tetragrammaton. They are 5650 BC, and 10,565 BC, one left to right, the other right to left. Here is the Tetragrammaton name twice, with both values given, and their purpose. As you can see, they are referred to as Adam's birth year and the beginning year of the age of Leo. If we use the year 5650 BC as the beginning year in a fully corrected timeline, it appears to fit perfectly with chronological and historically recorded history. Let's take a look at the fully correct timeline with the BC year date added with the timeline. The BC year dates appear on the far right, beginning with 5650 BC. As you see, the longer timeline fits better with the beginning year given in the Tetragrammaton. Now let's take a look at the remaining genealogy timeline of Genesis. First, let's look at the timeline of the King James Version Bible. This is the patriarch genealogy list after the flood, from Shem to Joseph. As you see, Canaan has been omitted from the genealogy timeline. Now let's take a look juxtaposed to the older Septuagint version of Genesis. Here you see that Canaan was originally in the timeline, as the 13th generation. As you see, almost 900 years has been removed from the second half of the Genesis genealogy. This including the years removed with the entire generation of Canaan. I believe there are some other minor scribing errors in the Septuagint version also. But they are minor, and I do not want to go into the particulars of their becoming. With much research, I have been able to remove all of these minor errors also. Now let's take a look at the fully corrected timeline, with the BC years added in also. There is one more minor error that I am investigating in the years lived of one patriarch, but this will make no difference in the BC year dates. As you see, this places the year of the Great Flood, or deluge, as the year 3394 BC. This year date fits much better with what we know about ancient recorded history and archaeology. The corrected Genesis timeline then ends with the birth of Joseph, in the year 2021 BC. This year date of 2021 BC is very near to the beginning year of the age of Aries. This also being the same as the end of the age of Taurus, this being the age that began with Enoch. I believe these timeline changes were made to hide the fact that Jesus was, and is, the Messiah. This because the Pharisees did notice that Jesus did come, at the right time. 5,650 years from the birth of Adam, just like the Tetragrammaton had always illustrated. By shortening the timeline they could then argue that 5,650 years had not yet passed since Adam's creation. With this, they could then argue that Jesus was not the Messiah, and that they had not killed Messiah, but an impostor. So it came that another timeline was created, and then eventually, the Jewish Masoretic text was born. This then becoming the text that was used to make most all Bibles in the world. I would like to mention here also that the number 5,650 is exactly 113 jubilees. A jubilee is 50 years. Exactly 113, 50-year periods. Now that the timeline and genealogy has been properly re-established in the Genesis book, let me now explain and show you how it is that I know that it is correct. First, let's talk about the first 10 patriarchs and their timeline, before the flood. This first part of the timeline is easy to explain. It matches the Septuagint and Josephus, which also match each other. I made no corrections to the existing Septuagint and Josephus timeline, only that I added in a column for the BC year dates also. I know that 5,650 BC is the correct beginning year, because it is in the Tetragrammaton. And also because it matches very well to what we know about historically recorded history and archaeology. I also think the BC year date for the birth of Enoch matches very closely to the beginning of the age of Taurus. More precisely, I think that the age of Taurus begins when Enoch is 300 years old. This making him the last patriarch to have children, during the age of Gemini. The house of Enoch then being the last to be completed, during the age of Gemini. This also being that the first 7 houses of the first 7 patriarchs are all completed during the age of Gemini. The age of Taurus then beginning in the year 4228 BC, this I think to be a perfect date. This because it also fits very well with the end of the Genesis genealogy and timeline. Enoch is then the Ra, or chief of the Taurus age, the pictograph letter Ra having the numeric value of 300 also. Now let me show you how I know that I have the second part of the genealogy and timeline correct, after the flood. The second part, after the flood, was a little more challenging to unravel and correct, and it is a little harder to explain how I know that I have it properly corrected. First, let me explain that the BC year dates are based on the birth ages and the begat ages of the patriarchs. Any change in the birth ages or begat ages of the patriarchs results in a change of the BC year dates also. So if the birth ages and the begat ages of the patriarchs are correct, then so are the BC year dates. Vice versa, if the BC year dates are correct, then so are the birth ages and begat ages of the patriarchs. Now, let me show you significant clues that the BC year dates are correct, after the flood. The first and the most obvious clue is the proposed year of the flood. This beginning 2 years before the birth of Arphaxad. This being the year 3394 BC, this year also fits well with the supposed beginning date of recorded history. The next significant clue in the BC year dates are in the last 4 dates for the last 4 patriarchs, after the flood. This being Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. The 21st, 22nd, 23rd and 24th. Let's take another look at the corrected genealogy timeline, after the flood. As you see, there is a custom from Arphaxad to Nahor, of having begat their sons round their 130th year. Now let's take a closer look at the BC year dates of the last 4 patriarchs. Here are the BC year dates for the last 4 patriarchs: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Abraham is the 21st generation, 14th from Enoch and 7th from Moloch and his brother Salah. The birth year of Abraham is 2272 BC, both of the numbers 22 and 72 are used significantly in religions. These 2 numbers are also significant in creation mathematics and other esoteric mathematics. 22 represents the completion of a perfect circle. 22 divided by 7 equals 3.1428 or perfect pi. This is different than conventional pi, which is 3.14159. I will explain why this is not perfect pi. The difference is that a perfect circle has 364 degrees, like the days of a year in the Enoch calendar. A conventional circle only has 360 degrees, missing the extra 4 quadrant degrees between the 90-degree angles. The number 72 is used significantly in multiple religions. It is also the number of years per degree of the Mazzaroth circle. The Mazzaroth circle is the ecliptic constellations and stars that encircle the Earth. They are divided into 364 degrees. The birth year of Isaac is 2172 BC, 100 years after Abraham. 21 is divisible by 7 and is Abraham's generation. Isaac then represents the 22nd generation and has 72 in his birth year. The birth year of Jacob is 2112 BC, the same as his brother Esau. Jacob then having the 21 in his year of birth also, and the number 12 to represent his 12 sons. The birth year of Joseph is 2021 BC, the last of the 24 patriarchs. This year of birth has 3 different meanings. The first is the obvious 21 in his birth year. If the age of Taurus began in 4228 BC and was 2220 years long, this would make Joseph 13 years old at the end of the Taurus age, this making the numbers nicely calibrated from beginning to end. This would mean that Rachel, who was barren for so long, conceived her first child in 2022 BC. I also believe that Abraham was Terah's first child, and that he was born when Terah was 70 years old. Now let me show you how I know that I have the ages lived, or death ages correct of each of the patriarchs. As I mentioned before, I was still investigating the death age, or years lived of one patriarch. More specifically the death age or years lived of Peleg. I do not believe that it is the same as Res his son 339 years. I use all timelines available, including apocryphy timelines, as research and study tools. But my most valuable study and research tool is the voice of God Himself, and my personal experiences with the Trinity of God. With these research and study tools, I have discovered the real age of death for Peleg, and how it is that I know I have the death ages correct. Here is the corrected timeline with the correct death age of Peleg inserted. 354 years old. Now here is the completed timeline and genealogy with all corrections made, including the BC year dates. Now, to find the calibration and symmetry that God has placed within the timeline, to verify its validity, we must add together all of the years lived, or death ages, of all 24 Genesis patriarchs. If you add up all of the years lived for the first 10 patriarchs before the flood, it totals 8,575 years. If you add up all of the years lived of the remaining 24 patriarchs after the flood, it totals 4,529 years. 8,575 years for the first 10 and 4,529 years for the remaining 14 patriarchs. The grand total of the combined years lived of all 24 patriarchs is 13,104 years. 13,104 years is exactly half of the total years of the precession of the equinoxes for all 12 constellation ages. The formula for the precession of the equinoxes is 364 ecliptic degrees multiplied by 72 years for each degree. It's 364 degrees times 72 years. This equals 26,208 years to complete all ages. 26,208 years divided by 2 equals 13,104 years, half of the ages. I believe this verifies the ages lived of each patriarch to be correct, and perfectly calibrates the Genesis genealogy and timeline. I believe this is the original genealogy and timeline that existed during the time of Christ. I believe there is an older corruption, however, in the Genesis story, that goes back before 600 BC. Back before the Babylonian invasion of Israel, and the time of Daniel, and the other prophets. Experts have said that the book of Genesis is written by 4 different authors. I believe it has had 3 different and separate edits, and only one original author that used paleopictograph. The paleopictograph also being mistranslated, after many translations being done over a 2,000-year period. Some corruption being unintentional from mistranslation, and other corruption appearing more intentional. I believe Canaan was the selected patriarch for removal much later on, because of a much older cover-up involving Canaan from the time of the judges of Israel. I believe the land of Canaan is really the land of Canaan, the 13th patriarch, son of Arphaxad and father of Moloch and Salah. This would make it the original Holy Land of the Zadok priesthood, and would explain a lot about these tribes of people. I believe the Canaanites were cursed and had no land. I believe they were the slave population only. I don't believe that the cursed Canaanites would have ever been permitted to possess the most precious coastal land between 3 continents. I believe this was given to Canaan, the birthright son of Arphaxad and grandson of Shem. I believe the land of Arphaxad is the land of the Phoenicians, just north of the land of Canaan. This makes much more sense as the dwelling land of Melchizedek, grandson of Canaan the 13th. Also, it makes better sense that this is the kingdom of Moloch, the son of Canaan and father of Melchizedek. I believe there are many legends of a man with a hammer, that are derived from Canaan the 13th. Legends that make Canaan out to be as a demigod. This is one reason to hide. Another reason is that his descendants became as nations that God would have the descendants of Israel go to war with later. This appears to be a contradiction, as if God first chose a people, then chose a different people to conquer and replace them in Israel. It appears to me, however, that God first chose a people from the 14th generation, 7th from Enoch, the sons of Canaan. Then after, God chose the 21st generation of Abraham and the 12 tribes of Israel that are his descendants, to replace the real Canaanites. I believe one of the editors of the Genesis book took it upon himself to hide this, by proclaiming the descendants of Canaan were from Canaan. If you look in scripture you will notice that the sons of Canaan are not named, but only the tribe names of the land of Canaan are given. This appears as an intentional editing maneuver to attribute the nations of Canaan to the cursed Canaan, that is without a land and are as the slaves only. Through the genealogy of the other children of Noah, the actual names of the sons are given, except for Canaan and Mizraim, the Egyptians. Only the nations are listed for Canaan and Mizraim, the nations of the Canaanites and the Egyptians. I believe that it is very possible that all of the nations listed from Canaan are actually the nations from Canaan. I believe that Sidon is the first son of Canaan, not Canaan, and that Canaan is where we get Poseidon, the Greek god. Poseidon meaning father of Sidon. I believe that Sidon and Tyre and Byblos are all brothers or perhaps cousins through the sons of Arphaxad. Arphaxad being the father of the Phoenicians, also known as the Phoenicians. I believe the Amalekites are related to Moloch, the second-born of Canaan, and to Melchizedek also. I believe Sidon and Moloch were split between the north and south coastline of the Mediterranean, across Israel. I believe that Sodom and Gomorrah were cities that were within the kingdom of Moloch Yahweh. This is why Moloch Yahweh came down to see for himself the sexual perversions that the other cities were complaining about, in those two cities. Moloch Yahweh came with 2 Malachim and ultimately did destroy both cities, after speaking with Abraham. The Hittites are likely where we get the Greek god Hades. Hittites were colonized on both the north and south borders of the land of Canaan. I believe the Canaanites may have been like giants to rival the giants that came from the bloodline of Ham, like Nimrod and Nephilim and the Mizraim. The rival giants being those out of Babylon, on the other side of the Mesopotamia, the Canaanites being the giants of the Holy Land of the gods. The Jebusites are likely where we get the Greek god Zeus, and the other Greek gods come from the other sons of Canaan. Jebus, the son of Canaan and Shelah, the birthright son, I believe created Jebushalam, which became Jerusalem. There is an ancient story about giants from Babylon being bred, and of giants being bred by the sons of Canaan to rival them. The giants were said to be bred by the mother eating certain parts of a young bull, to increase the growth hormone from the pituitary gland. The children were then born large, but prematurely, and were kept attached to the mother by umbilical cord, until fully matured. The child was then raised with foods and drinks that were also made with similar bovine pituitary extraction methods given to the mother of the giant child. These methods of breeding giants from bovine pituitary extract led to bull worship and bull mythology and reference to the gods as Elohim meaning the bull people. The legends of the gods are derived from these 2 nations of giants, the Canaanites to the west and the Babylonians to the east. These circumstances make Canaan appear to be like a giant man-god, and Cush and Nimrod and Tammuz as the 3 generations of eastern gods. It's possible that Moloch is the firstborn to Canaan and Sidon is the second-born, specifying Sidon as the firstborn may have been part of the cover-up of Moloch. I believe these circumstances are another reason why the genealogy of Melchizedek was hidden back through Canaan. I believe the Canaanites were only bred within the slave community and sold as livestock among all of the nations. Eventually, they were then bred into all of the nations themselves, through concubine breeding from the slave owners and breeders. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Now, let's take a look at the full 24-letter Paleopictograph alphabet and the meaning of each pictograph letter. The first letter is the ox letter Al, or L. This means strong and powerful leader. It has the numeric value of 1. Here is a picture of the ox pictograph, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the sheepfold letter, B. This letter has the sound of sheep calling and has the value of 2. This pictograph letter also means house, or flock, as this was the dominant sound at the homes or lands of the ancient Paleo people. Here is a picture of the B, sheepfold pictograph, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the foot pictograph. This letter means 3 that gather to walk together. It has the value of 3. This pictograph letter is also the Trinity pictograph, this letter originally having the J sound. The G sound is a different letter. Here is a picture of the J, foot pictograph, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the day letter. It means sky or sky portal. It has the numeric value of 4. Sky portal is a reference to the eastern sky, where the sun rises and the full moon appears. The numeric value of 4 is a reference to the 4 winds and the 4 cardinal points of the sky. Hebrews have associated the portal meaning into their meaning for this letter, which is door, but there are no actual doors in Paleo times. The sound of this letter is very much like the English word day, which is also a reference to the sky. Here is a picture of the day pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the He letter. This letter has the Ha sound, and means the breath of man. This letter gets its sound from the sound of the breath of man. It has the numeric value of 5, and is a pictograph of a man. This pictograph letter is also used to spell the tetragrammaton name of Yahweh. Here is a picture of the He pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Wa letter. This letter gets its sound from the cries of a baby. It has the numeric value of 6. The Wa letter means 2 that come together to make 1. 2 that come together to make a baby or child. This pictograph letter is also used to spell the tetragrammaton name of Yahweh. Hebrews have changed the meaning of this letter to mean tent peg, or nail, va. This is not the original meaning or sound of this letter. Here is a picture of the Wa pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the ZA letter. This letter is a pictograph of an ox plough. It has the value of 7. This letter means to sow, plant, or plough a field, or even to plough and sow the earth with the seed of man. Here is a picture of the ZA pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the K or Ket letter. This is a pictograph of a gate. This letter has the numeric value of 8. Hebrews have changed the meaning of this pictograph letter to mean wall. However, its original meaning is gate, and its sound is very similar to the sound of the English word gate. Here is a picture of the Ket pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Thet letter. This letter is a pictograph of the bottom of a basket. It has the numeric value of 9. This pictograph letter has been associated with the woman's womb, and the basket of the seeds of life. The numeric value of this pictograph letter, 9, has also been associated with the 9 months of pregnancy. Here is a picture of the Thet pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Yah letter. This letter means God, or the arm of God. It has the numeric value of 10. This pictograph letter is also used to spell the tetragrammaton name of Yahweh. Here is a picture of the Yah pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Ka letter. This letter is a pictograph of a hand. It means to tame or train. This letter is associated with taming an ox and working the ox for 20 years, before releasing it from its burdens. This letter is also associated with raising a child for 20 years, before releasing them into the world, as an adult. Here is a picture of the Ka pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the La letter. This letter is a pictograph of a shepherd's staff. It has the numeric value of 30. A shepherd's staff is made by bending a young tree or branch while it is green, and tying it over upon itself to dry and cure. After the branch is tied, it is cut to length and slow-dried in a shaded place. This process takes about 30 days to complete. Here is a picture of the La pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Da letter. This letter is a pictograph of a hammer. It has the numeric value of 40. This is one of the 2 letters removed from the Hebrew alphabet, and is the letter I discuss in detail in my other videos. This letter means to smite or humble, or to discipline. It also means to create or make, or to change something by force. This letter gets its sound from the sound of a hammer striking iron, or another metal, upon an anvil, or forging platform. The number 40 is also associated with discipline or humbling or smiting as a judgment, and is associated with judgment throughout the Bible. Hebrews combined this letter with the day letter, which means sky portal, or door, to form the new letter, Daleth. The original meaning of the Da letter was dropped completely. Despite this, the modern Hebrew letter Daleth still resembles the hammer pictograph. Here is a picture of the modern Hebrew letter Daleth. It appears more like a hammer than a door. Here is a picture of the Da pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. When the Da letter was removed, all of the remaining letters had their values shifted up. 50 became 40 and 500 became 400 and so on. The next pictograph letter is the Ma letter. This letter is a pictograph of waves of water. It has the numeric value of 50. This letter is associated with the passing waves of time, and with jubilees or 50-year periods of Semitic and biblical timekeeping. Here is a picture of the Ma pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Nu letter. This letter is a pictograph of a new seed sprout with new root. It has the numeric value of 60. This letter means new. Just like the sound, it is associated with 60 days of germination after planting before a young sapling is developed. Here is a picture of the Nu pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Sin letter. This is a pictograph of a thorn or thorn barrier. It has the numeric value of 70. This letter is associated with sin, and has been depicted as a snake also, the hiss of a snake being the sound of the letter. The thorn barriers were created by the Paleo people, to contain their flocks and herds in a field. Here is a picture of the Sin pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the I letter. This is a pictograph of an eye, and has the same sound. Its numeric value is 80. This letter means to look upon, see, or to show, and also means to speak of oneself or to introduce yourself or another. Here is a picture of the I pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Pe letter. This is a pictograph of a mouth. It has the numeric value of 90. This letter means to eat or drink something, and also a reference to taking medicine. Here is a picture of the Pe pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Tsa letter. This is a pictograph of a path leading to a destination. It has the numeric value of 100. This letter is associated with traveling, or taking a journey. This is not a pictograph of a man sleeping or lying down. Here is a picture of the Tsa pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Que letter. This is a pictograph of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn in one sky portal together. This pictograph letter has the numeric value of 200, as the three planets are seen together about every 200 years. Here is a picture of the Quay pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Ra letter. This is a pictograph of the head of a man or lion. This letter has the value of 300. This letter gets its sound from the roar of a lion or bear. This letter means chief or leader, the one to be heard. Here is a picture of the Ra pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the She letter. This is a pictograph of two human front teeth. This letter has the numeric value of 400. The number 400 is a reference to 400 weeks, which is 7.5 years, the age when children get their two adult front teeth. This letter means to cut, or bite. Also something two-edged. Drawn as two pointed teeth. This letter means to sharpen something, or something that is sharp, or cuts. Drawn as two breasts. This letter means woman or wife and also love or lover or comforter. This is the origin of the English word she. Here is a picture of the She pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The next pictograph letter is the Taur letter. This is a pictograph of a root. This letter has the numeric value of 500. This letter means truth or beginning, or source or root of something. It is a pictograph of a cross. Here is a picture of the Taur pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. The last pictograph letter is the Ga letter. This is a pictograph of two strands being intertwined together. It has the value of 1000. This letter means to intertwine two together to make them a stronger one, also to intertwine thought or intertwine words, to think and converse. This letter also means to mix something, or to mix people. This is the second letter removed from the Hebrew alphabet. When this letter was removed from Hebrew, it was combined with the third letter, J, and made the new Hebrew letter Gimel. This is when the third letter J lost its J sound, and was replaced by the Ga sound, from the Ga letter. Here is a picture of the Ga pictograph letter, and its numeric value and sound. Now, as a bonus, here is a picture of the 12 pictographs for the 12 constellations, in paleopictograph form. These are the 12 pictograph signs, including the main stars for each constellation. The first pictograph is for Virgo. This is a pictograph of the sun high in the sky. During the age of Gemini, the summer days were in Virgo. The second pictograph is for Libra. This is a pictograph of a divided triangle or two equal parts. Libra is also the scales of balance. The third pictograph is for Scorpio. In ancient times this was an eagle or other large bird. This is a pictograph of a bird flying. The fourth pictograph is for Sagittarius. This is a pictograph of a leaf with a line upon it. During the age of Gemini, autumn days were in Sagittarius. The fifth pictograph is for Capricorn. This is a pictograph of the face profile of a goat. The sixth pictograph is for Aquarius. This is a pictograph of a man wearing warm clothing for the cooler days coming. The seventh pictograph is for Pisces. This is a pictograph of the sun low in the sky. During the age of Gemini, winter days were in Pisces. The eighth pictograph is for Aries. This is a pictograph of ram horns, or horns from another deer-like animal. The ninth pictograph is for Taurus. This is a pictograph of a bull's head. The star Aldebaran is the red eye of the Taurus bull. The 10th pictograph is for Gemini. This is simply a pictograph of 2. Gemini was the spring equinox days during its age. The 11th pictograph is for Cancer. This was originally a beetle or ant. This is a pictograph of the pincher head of a beetle or ant. The 12th pictograph is for Leo. This is a pictograph of a lion. This is the last constellation. Virgo is the first. The paleopictograph alphabet, and the constellation pictographs, were created and arranged during the age of Gemini, the Adamic age. Now, let's talk about the ramifications of mistranslations of the paleopictograph alphabet. Let's talk about the names Adam and Eve, and the Semitic word, Adama. Adam's name was originally spelled as, Edom. This is originally spelled with the missing hammer pictograph. The hammer pictograph being one of the 2 Semitic letters that was removed from the Hebrew alphabet. Likewise, the Semitic word Adama was also originally spelled with the hammer pictograph letter. The Semitic word Adama was translated as to mean earth or ground, in English. I believe this is a mistranslation of the word Adama. The name Adam was translated to mean red blood, in English. I believe this translation is partially accurate, but not entirely true. Now let me show you Adam's name spelled in its later Paleo-Semitic pictograph letter form. This is Adam's name spelled with the day letter in the middle, instead of the Da letter, which was removed. Now let me show you what the word Adama looks like, spelled in pictograph letter form. Here the word Adama is spelled also with the letter, day pictograph letter, instead of the Da letter. Remember, ancient Semitic words are read from right to left. As you see, the only difference is one more pictograph at the end of the word Adama. This extra pictograph is for the H sound letter. It is a pictograph of a man. This because the sound of the breath of man is ha, ha, ha. I do not believe that adding the pictograph of the breath of man to Adam's name makes it the word earth or ground. Rather, it appears to me to make Adam's name become Adam's people or Adam's foundation of blood. This makes me believe that Adam means red blood, and Adama means foundation of red blood, or pre-Adamics. That would explain who the people in the land of Nod were, that Cain went to go live with, after he killed Abel. The original scripture about Adam says, Adam was made from the remnants of the Adama. The remnants of the Adama was translated as dust of the earth or ground. The word remnants being translated as meaning dust, when placed before the word Adama, as the word ground. The mistranslation then reads, Adam was made from the dust of the earth or ground. I believe the proper translation is, Adam was made from the remnants of the Adama, his foundation of red blood. The remnants of the Adama being those that remained of the pre-Adamic people on the earth. The blood foundation. I also do not believe that Eve was made from Adam's rib. In other apocryphy stories, it says, Eve was made from a rib or piece from the left side of Adam's loins, his gentle side. My opinion is that this piece from Adam's loins was placed into the foundation of blood, the Adama, and produced Eve. The name Eve was originally Kewa. This is 2 or 3 pictograph letters. The pictograph for Ke is the letter Ket, which is a pictograph of a gate. Ket is the 8th pictograph letter. The letter Wa is the 6th letter and is a pictograph of 2 lines coming together to make one. This means baby. This letter gets its sound from the cries of a baby, wa, wa, wa. Together, these 2 letters mean, baby gate, or gate of babies, Kewa. If you add the pictograph of the breath of man, to the end, it becomes, gate of the children of men or mankind. Eve's name is then spelled as Kewa. The last pictograph of the breath of man, being the 5th letter. Here is a key of the first 10 Paleo-Semitic pictograph letters and their values. This is the first 10 Paleo-Semitic letters and their values, 1 through 10. Now let's talk about where Cain and Seth both got their wives to populate. Adam and Eve first had 5 children, not just 3. They were a family of 7 really. They actually first had 3 sons, and 2 daughters. Cain was born with a twin sister named Lawan, and Abel was born with a twin sister named Zara. God ordained for Cain to take Abel's twin sister Zara as his wife, and for Abel to take Cain's twin sister Lawan as his wife. God explained to Adam that he did forever forbid that twins should ever mate with one another. Cain found his own twin sister more beautiful than Abel's twin sister. This is part of the reason that Cain kills Abel. After Cain kills Abel and becomes banished by God, he takes Lawan and goes east to live with the Adama. When Seth then is born and becomes grown, he takes Zara, the twin of Abel, as his wife. God then vows to wipe Cain's seed from the earth with water. This vow based on the blood of Abel, that was spilled by Cain. This also because Cain washed away the body of Abel down the Pishon River, and he was never found. Let's take a look at Adam's name again as it is spelled in modern Hebrew, without the hammer pictograph letter. This still being the Paleo-Semitic alphabet, but with only 22 letters, rather than the original 24 letters. This is the name Adam, from right to left, it is ox, sky, water. Now let's take a look at Adam's name spelled with the removed hammer pictograph letter. Adam's name again, from right to left, it is ox, hammer, water. The first misspelled version of Adam's name implies that Adam is the ox of the day, or sky, waters. The original and correct spelling of Adam's name implies that he is the ox of the smiting waters, the ox of the damned. When you put the hammer pictograph and the water pictograph together, it spells the word dam. This is the hammer pictograph and the water pictograph together as one word. The original meaning of the word dam is literally the smiting waters. This is a reference to the deluge. This original word and meaning is where we also get the English word for water dam. To smite the waters, to dam waters. Considering the deluge, I think Adam's name makes much more sense as the ox of the smiting waters. This is Adam as Edom, rather than Edem, which is the latter spelling. Ox of the damned makes better sense. Let's talk some about the Tetragrammaton of Yahweh, the name of God, in Paleo-Semitic pictograph. Here is a picture of the Tetragrammaton of Yahweh, in Paleo-Semitic pictograph. The Paleo-Semitic pictograph Tetragrammaton of Yahweh, and its values. There appears to be a clue to human genetic engineering in the Tetragrammaton pictographs. Read right to left, they appear to say, bring down a Y chromosome, and make a man or men. Then make a new Y chromosome, and then make a new man. This appears to be the Yahweh of Yahweh. Let's take a look at the Tetragrammaton of Yahweh, again. Bring down a Y chromosome, and then make a man. Then make a new Y chromosome, and then make a new man. I believe this is talking about genetics, because the pictograph of the Y, in the middle, is also the pictograph of a child. I also believe that the Tetragrammaton of Yahweh is a symbol for the throne of God. And that Jesus is represented by the Y pictograph in the middle. The new Y chromosome is his, because he was born to a virgin. And because Jesus is the Son of God and the Son of Man, he is two that came together to make one. The Paleo-Semitic letter, Tor, is a pictograph of a root. The pictograph appears to be a depiction of a cross. If you place the root pictograph letter Tor, and the child pictograph letter, Wa together, they mean root child. Now if you take the Wa pictograph a child, and place it upon the Tor pictograph for root, it appears as Jesus on the cross. Here is a picture of the Tor pictograph of a root, and then the Wa pictograph a child placed upon the root. This is the root pictograph letter Tor on the left, combined with the Wa pictograph letter together, on the right. Another reason I think this is referring to genetics is the ninth pictograph letter Thet. This pictograph means basket or container. This pictograph is often used as a symbol for the woman's womb, the basket of the seeds of life. The Thet pictograph is also the ninth pictograph letter, as to represent 9 months of pregnancy in the woman's womb. Here is the picture key of the first 10 Paleo-Semitic letters. Thet is the 9th letter. Thet is a pictograph of a basket bottom, with the X cross brace of the basket depicted. This pictograph letter of a basket appears also as an X chromosome inside a container or womb. I think God was leaving us a message that we could only understand now, in the modern age. Let's take a look at the Tetragrammaton of Yahweh again. Bring down a Y chromosome, and make a man. Then create a new Y chromosome, and then make a mortal man, or then make the angels, or angelish, for the next cycle. I believe this is the meaning of the last pictograph of a man. It is also possible that time is like a circle upon the earth, and the beginning and the end meet. This would mean that the angels that were at the beginning, were created at the end of the cycle. And that the angels were sent down in time from a higher time, that was above. Always remember, you never know when you might be entertaining an angel, unaware. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out the book series, The 24 Elders and a Little Scroll. Here is the link. Thanks again.